righty. So a week has passed for all you folks. A minute has passed for us. Got some water. We're ready to go. Talking about the train wreck of the number 116 up there and just east of Clinton, Nebraska, which is still in our wheelhouse. When I had first started reading about this, and I'm reading along the story, I'm like, I'm not sure how far east Clinton is. So I went to Google Maps, typed it in. I'm like, yay, it's still in our territory, because this is it's a sad, but it's a really interesting story that I think a lot of people don't know about, and I wanted to share a little bit more. So today on part 2 of the wreck of the train engine number 116 on Storytelling on the Plains, we're going to discuss the aftermath of what happened when a locomotive with several men who were working on the train and several vagabonds who were hitching a ride on the train crashed during a storm into 15 feet of water. I'll just give a little warning here, because there is going to be a description that I'm going to read that's a little but I think y'all can get.
This is where kind of AI would help. This is what I've seen YouTubers do, like for the ocean liner crashes. They'll use AI to like show like a little model.
Of what happened. Yeah,
so
and
I'm get an idea.
I'm not even that skilled. I would just have a picture of here's a locomotive. It not the one that crashed, but this is how big it is. I'm not even that creative in that. So I'm going to go ahead and read the description of what happened from Penry's article, and it's not completely gruesome. We're in 2025. People have heard more, but we
just had that tragic airplane crash in India. That was horrible.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah, and you're talking the one that didn't
it
quite.
Went up and went down.
Yep.
Yeah. They now there's all sorts of weird things behind that, because it was now, I think, confirmed it was done more or less on purpose.
Yeah, they switched the thingies
off the thrusters or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So if you guys can take that kind of news.
Yeah, you should be okay.
I think you'd be all right with this.
Yeah. So, Conductor White immediately ran from the caboose past a few flat cars and climbed up the last boxcar. So Conductor White was way in the back of this thing. And the reason he's able to survive is because everything else crashed and caused a pile up. So he's relatively unscathed. He then ran on top of the cars to the front of the train to offer assistance. Brakeman Geyer ran back west to flag down an approaching passenger train. Both men had been thrown to the floor from their seats in the cupola, but escaped injury. So most conductors in their engines aren't sitting down, seat belted. They're standing up. They do have a seat they can sit down when they're tired, but they're standing up. They got things they need to do, and they need to move around.
These chairs are more like tall stools.
Yeah.
You kind of half lean. Not so much sit.
Yeah. So it's not surprising that they were thrown to the floor. And they were sitting in the cupola mainly because they're at the back end of the train and they don't have as much work as the front end of the train, but they do have work. And it just happens that they were sitting when this all went down. So just in case you're wondering, it's just kind of crap happens, and they just happen to be sitting. So when the train wrecked, they're far enough back that kinetic energy just rattled them, and they fell off their seats. And it rather than what happened at the front. So the the two tramps who rode near the rear of the train, Smith, remember Smith? He's the dude that hopped off to get a drink, and then he had to hop at the back of the train because he lost his spot up front. So Smith and the Negro assisted. I know, I hate that. I hate it.
So
it's
fucking terrible.
And throughout the whole story, they never bothered to learn this dude's name. This dude helped out.
Or in the story, couldn't you just give him a name?
Yeah, just
Smith and Steve.
Yeah.
Joe.
You can't ask him. They asked Smith. So Smith was a step up because at least he got a last name. He didn't get a first name, but he got a last name. So both of them assisted Conductor White, but there was little the three men could do in the confusion of darkness and swirling water. So one thing you also need to remember, when all these train cars went into this now flash flooded pond area, if that's what you want to call it, you've just taken a massive storm, created 15 feet of water with 2 to 3 feet of hail on top of it, and now you dumped a bunch of train locomotives and cars into this mess. The water is swirling everywhere. It's just complete goo and mess, and it's just after 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's confusion. I don't feel is a good enough word, but other than me cursing and saying shit show, what else do you use to describe this? It's just crap all around. When passenger number 6 arrived at the scene, men and women came forward with extra lanterns to offer assistance. So remember from our last episode, number 6 was late, so they told 116 to go ahead and go. Otherwise, 116 would have been trailing right behind number 6.
It would have been number 6 that was in the drink.
And it's a passenger train. So many, many more injuries if that had happened. So most individuals from number 6 were horrified and could not bear to be near the site. That alone tells me that with the lanterns, they were able to see what was going on. Upon impact, Engineer Pace was thrown through the cab window of the lead locomotive and into water up to his neck. Miraculously, he only lost a finger and smashed another on his right hand. He also had a severe scalp wound, but was able to swim away from the wreckage. So Engineer Pace is just completely chucked out the window into 15 feet of water. And that's a lot easier to survive than being chucked out the window and smashing on the ground. And that's probably why he only had some, losing a finger sucks, but compared to everything else that happened, and smashing another finger, I'll take that over death. Fireman Harris, who was with Pace, was found partially submerged in the water, lying about 12 feet from the track near one of the tenders. He had a badly broken leg, which nearly severed between the knee and the thigh. Harris was in extreme agony with several internal injuries, but he was still alive. Today, if this happens in that same exact location, Airlink is flying out there, and you're going to be in a Regional West Level 2 Trauma Center? Yeah, they're a Level 2 Trauma Center.
If they even took you to Regional West, they might just take you off to Denver, say hell with it.
Yeah, they're going to assess you right on the scene. They're either going to take you to Regional West, Rapid City, or South Dakota.
Yeah,
or
Denver. And
Denver.
Usually, if you had a severed leg, I wouldn't be surprised if they just took you to Denver. Their triage unit is just a lot better there than ours. Ours is okay. We do what we can, but I'm pretty sure in the past, some guy lost his arm in a combine accident in the farm, and I'm pretty sure he went to Denver.
Okay. Okay. And they'll make that decision on the scene. But also today, as soon as you get notification that this accident happened, Airlink's already in the air coming to see if they can help.
No one's saving you right now. Not here. Yeah, no one's going to come out.
Yeah.
No helicopters, not yet.
Yeah, they're not even invented yet.
Yep, you're a ways off from there,
and you are in the middle of
nowhere. Your rescuers was just there. The passenger car number 6. That was your rescue. That was the best you were gonna get.
Yep.
And what are they gonna do? All they can do is reverse and go back. They can't go forward.
Yep.
Or at least go back to the next switch and maybe try to go forward. But I assume you try to go back to Clinton.
No, they would have to go back to Clinton because this was on the main line and 50 feet on each side of this giant mess, or 50 feet on each side of where the track was destroyed was flooded. So on top of the fact number 6 stops, they have to go and walk up to where the wreck is and then assess how can we get in and help you. And these are just regular folks that are just on the passenger train. I'm assuming lots of folks were sleeping because it is after, I'm guessing it's probably closer to 2 a.m. at this point. If you're on number 6, you're sleeping at 2 a.m. There's probably going to be a few people up partying, but by and large, the people on the passenger train are going to be asleep. And now they're woken up to this. So it took 3 hours for a wrecking crane to arrive from Chadron. Now remember, Chadron's 31 miles from Clinton, and this happened just a couple miles east of Clinton. So let's say 35 miles, rough estimate, and it took 3 hours to get the crane there. Because again, it's the middle of the night, everybody's asleep, you don't have a cell phone, you probably don't even have a phone in your house, out here. And if you do, let's say you were rich, and you get woken up, you still got to get dressed. You got to get all your boys together, get down there to get the wrecking crane, get on the tracks, and then travel. That's best case scenario. Most likely, people didn't have phones in their home. There was just one in town, and they get the message. Then they got to go out and get these people. They got to wake up the main dude. The main dude's got to get his clothes on, and then he's got to go wake everybody else up, and then you all meet. So it all takes time. Today, with your cell phone, you're going to get a text and be like, get down here now, and you probably have like 10 minutes to get there. I'm guessing it probably took at least an hour to get them going. So passenger number 6 was attached to the rear of number 116 and pulled what was left of it back to Clinton and onto the side track. By doing this, the crane could get closer to the wreckage while number 6 went to Clinton and back. So you've got the number 6, which was a passenger train, is grabbing on to the 116 locomotive, pulls whatever is left of it off of the tracks, because the crane can't get there to pull anybody else out until this is out of its way. So that's a whole other thing that had to happen too before the crane could even start working. And the article that I read, it described how it did this, but it didn't mention did they do that before the train or before the crane got there. That probably would have been the smart thing to do so that when the crane came, it could just go right in. But I don't know, and I couldn't find any information about that. So the bodies were removed from the second engine. Graham's body was found crushed and burned beyond recognition. So if you remember, that second engine went right into the first one, like a telescope. And it probably exploded, and from the pressure of it going straight in there, it crushed the dude. They probably only know that it was Graham because of where he was found. Because
this was a steam locomotive.
Yeah.
So there was the first engine, I mean, everything's under pressure. So as soon as that busts and released, I mean, yeah, there's probably a massive explosion, if not two. I don't know if the second one, mechanically wise, blew its boilers, but yeah.
Yeah. So as the sun began to rise, crews recovered the scalded bodies of Fireman Myers and Brakeman Ebener. And I really, really hope that they were killed instantly in the accident, because I've been scalded before in like the tip of a finger. Mm-hmm. Their entire bodies were scalded. I can't imagine that kind of pain. But we don't know. That's just my hope, that they died instantly in the wreck before they were scalded, because that's a horrific way to die if you're scalded and there's no one there helping to save you. And it wasn't till sunrise. And summer sunrise is around 6:30 around here. So their bodies are laying there for 5 hours. Mm-hmm. And I really hope they weren't still alive then, just for mercy's sake. Next came the removal of the bodies of the tramps, who were also crushed and burned. One tramp, who had escaped sudden death, directed those working the crane to remove various parts of the wreckage that were pinning him down. When he was finally freed, he talked to his rescuers and said, "I am not hurt." Minutes later, he closed his eyes and died.
And that's called actually in the medical profession, they actually call that getting pinned. And it's basically what happened to him is he was pinned to where it's almost like when you put a tourniquet on your arm, mm-hmm. and it stops all the blood from going down. Where in his case, all his blood stayed up. He stayed conscious. He stayed fully alert. But once that pressure was released, he literally bled internally instantly. I mean, and this happens actually other times on trains. There's horrible stories of getting pinned on trains, but that's one of the things that happens is you'll be alive and alert until they remove it.
Jesus.
And you'll be perfectly fine, and once they remove it, you'll die within minutes.
That's a horrific way to go.
It is. And my mom and dad being a fire department, they've given me worse stories, because this has happened in modern times. Mm-hmm. There was one of a guy that got hooked by a train between two train pins, and it pinned him. And they knew that he was pinned, and they knew what was going to happen when they released the pins. And he knew too. So, it was kind of one of those sad stories. He got his wife and his kids, and they had one last meal, and that
Jesus.
was it.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do? Because we don't have any technology that can counteract that.
No, even nowadays, I believe when you're pinned, you're screwed.
Yeah,
you're absolutely screwed. There's just nothing you can do.
I remember reading the story of Anton, and forgive me for forgetting his name, the actor that was in the Star Wars movies that played Mr. Spock. That's how he died. His car slipped the gear, and he got pinned between the wall and his car, and that's how he died. And I just remember reading that story, how horrific it was. It was just a freak accident, and that's how he died. Mm-hmm. God.
Yep, that also happens in construction sites if you're accidentally covered in concrete to the point where you're like immobilized. That can sometimes happen as well.
Really?
The concrete can crush your organs so significantly as it hardens if you're not released right away, that once you are released, it can technically be considered like a pin. All that pressure suddenly released in your body just basically shoots out all the blood at once, and your heart can't take it. It can't pump it back through, and that's it.
Dang.
So be careful, guys.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But yeah, you want to talk about a horrible way to die? That is a horrible way to die.
Yeah.
At least this man here did not know about that.
Yeah.
And I think ignorance in his case was bliss, because he, like you said, he thought he was okay.
Yep. He's like, I'm not hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Jeez. Okay. Fireman Harris was initially taken east to Gordon, where local doctors decided the best course would be to amputate his mangled leg. I 100% agree with this, and what happened, I do not agree with at all. And Fireman Harris, let me just read the story. A doctor with the railroad arrived who challenged their diagnosis and stated Harris's leg would not be removed. So that doctor took Harris back to the wreck where an engine and a car from Chadron came to transport him and 10 bodies of the deceased crew and tramps back to Chadron. The engine arrived back at Chadron at 11 a.m. Friday morning, 10 hours after the crash occurred. The bodies were wrapped in sheets and spread out in a row on the ground outside the station. Harris's condition deteriorated, so he was taken to the hospital at Hot Springs, South Dakota. Despite receiving medical attention, Harris died of his injuries Saturday evening. The number of deaths had been confirmed at 11 after the second day. I think they should have removed his leg in Gordon.
Could have helped. It could have helped, especially if gangrene was setting in, which
and possibly sepsis.
Sepsis is probably to where I have gangrene. I think takes a little longer than 10 hours to set in, but sepsis, yeah, you could. He might have been screwed either way, depending on where he was nicked. If it was a femoral artery,
But if I had been Harris, I would have went with take my leg if that's my best chance of survival. I'd rather be alive with one leg than dead with two. But he listened to the railroad doctor, who I assume probably came in and took charge, and then they chuck him along a train, which is jostling him all along to Chadron, and then they eventually take him up to Hot Springs, which is like another hour north of Chadron today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'd be a little longer, because from Chadron, you get back about to that turnoff to Hot Springs in about an hour. It takes a little bit longer than that, like an hour, 20 minutes, hour and a half, because then you have to go into the hills and actually go into Hot Springs. And I guess I don't know how the railway system set up then. Maybe they had a straight shot, but I know if you're on the roads, you're bobbing and weaving and in and out to try to get there.
And he's still bleeding the whole time from his leg. Hindsight is 2020. I feel really bad for the dude. He probably suffered a lot in that amount of time before he passed away. The westbound passenger number 5 train, which was traveling from Norfolk, which is on the eastern end of the state, arrived and stopped just east of the wreckage. Local farmers came to help with their horses and wagons to transfer passengers, baggage, and mail from the number 5 across the channel and onto a train on the west side of the accident. The entire process took 4 hours. Though the water was receding, it was still too deep to walk across. So this again is that very Nebraska thing.
Yeah,
where
our lakes don't last long. Our floods don't last long.
Yeah, they're like, well, we need to get these passengers past the wreck. How are we going to get them past the wreck? And so Nebraskans are just like, well, got some horses and a wagon, and they just load everybody's crap up and have the horses pull through the receding water, and then on the other side of the track they get onto a new train and keep going. And that's also partly a business decision. You know, they got other trains that have to go.
Yeah.
So, you know, what do you do? Because those trains probably also, if you think about how far away Norfolk is, and I forgot to look up how far Norfolk is from that spot, but it's on the eastern end of the state. So they probably also left at like 10 or 11 at night. Everybody's asleep, and it's not till the morning that they see there's a wreck there, and they're like, well, what can we do to help? So they bring a train from the west side, and they basically flip-flop passengers. So the train company at Long Pine, which is about 151 miles east of the accident, put an extra number 6 into service to make up for the fact that number 6 was stuck on the west side of the accident. So I think you could have put any train car in there, but I guess they had a spare one that was labeled 6. Whatever. Throughout the day on Friday, workers built a shoe-fly track around the wreckage as the water continued to recede. Others moved the wrecked locomotives and cars off the side and rebuilt the track. So they didn't waste any time getting the track back up and running. I think even today, it's going to be a few days or weeks before that line is serviceable. But they're like, nope, we're going to get it back up and running today. Large crowds from Gordon, Clinton, and Rushville gathered around the site to watch the cleanup. The lead engine was taken to Gordon on Tuesday, and the second locomotive followed the next day. Both were then brought back to Chadron to be rebuilt or to remove salvageable parts. By midweek, a pile driver arrived and constructed a bridge at the location of the washed-out culvert. So to get everything functioning 100% the way it was before, it did take almost a week. But they had a workaround within the day. Newspapers reported 13 men, 4 trainmen, and 9 tramps were killed in the wreck. It is impossible, however, to say how many tramps died. At least one body of a tramp was recovered in a field several miles from the wreck. It is presumed the rushing water carried it that far away. And you have no idea how many got on the train. Did some others survive and then just kind of like bugger off into the distance when it wrecked and was like, oh my God, glad I lived. We don't really know how many were on the train. They only know how many bodies they recovered. That bridge that replaced the culvert was still there as of 2014. The article noted that it was there, and the last train traveled over the bridge in 2006 when the train between Rushville and Merriman stopped. The rails are completely gone, but the bridge is still being used as part of the undeveloped Cowboy Trail. So the Cowboy Trail in Nebraska, the hope is that it'll use the former rail line and traverse the entire northern part of the state. It does not come out west by us. It's like a little bit past Valentine, I think, where the
but you
developed part
is. You
is.
up in Harrison, actually.
Yes,
and through Crawford.
Yes, that's the undeveloped part. Yeah.
Well, and I don't know about undeveloped. It's paved.
Oh, they've paved it now.
So,
okay.
I mean, yeah, it's you can see it. It's a noticeable trail now.
Okay.
So, and they have bridges over a lot of the creeks.
Okay.
So yeah, no, check it out. I think you can actually go from Harrison to Valentine.
Have they finished it now?
Yeah,
because I knew they were planning on finishing it. It just hadn't been yet.
I'm fairly certain it's finished because we have a couple of friends that go. They bike it.
Okay.
And I think you can at least get to Valentine's, if not further. Because think it's
if you can
traverse the entire
if you
state.
can get to Valentine, you can traverse the entire thing. The bits that I was looking at, you definitely know it's the trail, but it's not paved where I was looking. So maybe it's that way on purpose.
Yeah, and I don't know if the whole thing, because I'm like you, I just saw what was paved tootling along the highway.
Okay.
And I went from Valentine to Harrison.
Okay.
Because it kind of goes in and out.
Yeah.
But there's places where you can see it. It's really, I think it's a really neat idea.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a very cool idea. So I went back to Google Maps because, as I had said in the last episode, I was having a very hard time finding where that spot was. And then when I did some more research and finished the article, because the article is quite long and it's pretty thorough. There's some things that I still had questions about that I couldn't figure out. But anyway, it's still a good story. That bridge, they said where the accident was about 2 miles east of Clinton. So I'm looking 1.9 to 2.2 miles. I could not find anything. So I decided to travel down the road on Google Maps, and that bridge is 2.9 miles. So I was a little more than half a mile off from where I was trying to find it. And that's why I couldn't find it the first time. The rail line is gone, but the dirt track area where it ran is still there, and people still do ride bikes on it. And like we just had the discussion, I'm not sure if the Cowboy Trail has been finished or not. From what I saw, this area, it's not finished yet.
It could be not completely finished. I don't know.
But it is still part of the Cowboy line. It's just not completed. And yes, you could go out there and ride on it. It's just you needed to know that it's not done or developed
It's interesting. It's called the Cowboy Trail, not like the Pioneer Trail or the Railway Trail or even the Mickelson Trail, like up in the Black Hills. That used to be the old tracks.
Yeah,
it goes from Custer to Deadwood now. But yeah, it's
and I
don't the Cowboy Trail. I don't know how many cowboys were actually up here.
Yeah, when you look at where it goes along the northern part of the state, I don't even think the trappers were up in this area, up this far north. They might branch up north, but the trails were all farther south in the state. So I don't know.
I didn't know too much about.
I don't know enough either.
I mean, maybe in the cattle herding time still, but I imagine by the time the railways were there, barbed wire was there, ranching was there, so cowboys were already almost extinct.
Yeah.
And that's where you kind of get into, Lonesome Dove.
Yeah. That's what I'm wondering is, are they mistaking what a cowboy really is?
Oh, probably. It was probably a throw-off name that one of the people...
Yeah, and someone goes,
let's call it the Cowboy Trail. Everything's already being called Pioneer Trail. I think we already have a Pioneer Trail, so let's call it something different.
Yeah, yeah. So a second story, also written by Jerry Penry, ran in the Northwestern Lines magazine, which is the official publication of the Chicago and Northwestern Historical Society, which I think is cool that they got a little magazine that they run and they still run it and keep that history alive. This story ran in issue number 2 in 2014. It's an interesting account of what people were thinking and how things changed after the wreck. So I'm just going to read directly from that. There was speculation by some grieving citizens that freight number 116 must have possessed evil powers. Of course, when I read that sentence, I was going to keep reading. The previous day, number 116 ran over and killed a Greek railroad laborer near Wood Lake, approximately 120 miles farther east. In that instance, the laborer had plenty of time to safely cross the tracks, but he stumbled on the rails and was unable to pick himself up before the train ran over him. Okay.
Now, why don't they put that in the Help I Fall and I Can't Get Up commercials?
Yeah.
That would have made me buy one of those wristband thingies real fast. It's like...
hurry, the train's coming. Slightly more than 2 years earlier, number 116 plunged into a washout near Merriman on April 16, 1906, killing the fireman Elwood Day. So, we got washouts up there in the Sandhills all the time. 2 years before this happened, and no one thought about trying to make things safer. After the funerals, the railroads began assessing the cause of the wreck. The conclusion was that the small culvert placed in the drainage way east of Clinton was insufficient. You think? Yeah. In all likelihood, there were no drainage studies to determine how much area that particular region drained. No one had ever seen more than a foot of water in the swale where the wreck occurred. So I get this. If you've never seen more than a foot of water in that little drainage area,
Well, this is 1906. The only people
1908.
1908,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's
so
okay.
much later.
Yeah.
There's the only people that made these decisions were railroad companies. There was no federal oversight over any of this. There was no state inspected railroad whatevers, You didn't have any of that.
And on top of that, how many people were out there in that area on a regular basis that even if the railroad came along and said, "Hey man, does that area flood?" It gets about a foot of water when it rains.
Yeah.
And
I was out because I'm out after it floods. After a big old torrential storm, I'm the first one out there to measure.
yeah.
No, I'm out there like 3 days after, like everybody else, and of course the water goes down.
Yeah.
So you're never going to get an accurate account.
Exactly. Given the right conditions with heavy rainfall, the situation became devastating as the grade blocked the flow and only a small culvert was there to handle the water. Well, yeah, because everybody thought a foot of water. Mm-hmm. No one had ever seen 15 feet of water and 2 to 3 feet of hail. So, yeah, it was inadequate for what happened, but in 1908, we're not planning for what ifs. Mm-hmm. We're planning for what does happen, and what has happened. And if I could even see them, if it only ever gets a foot of water, well, let's build it 5 feet high, And you might, like that place back in New York, in Poughkeepsie where I was at, that until that point in time, that road had never flooded. Mm-hmm. The drive-in had flooded a couple of times, but it had never reached a level where that part of the road flooded. And it was kind of funny because I got to see a garbage can floating down the river. Not a garbage can, a dumpster.
Nowadays, it's terrifying when they show pictures of the New York subway. And people in the subway and water's just like up to the doors. And I'm like, how are you guys not panicking? Because I would be panicking.
I would be too. And I hate whenever I would always go down the Palisades Parkway. No, Palisades is on the east side. Anyway, I would go down the Parkway and get on the GW Bridge to go into New York City. You're going in a little farther up into Manhattan than if you go down to the Lincoln Tunnel. But those tunnels, from day one, need pumps 24/7 to keep the water out.
Just normally.
Just normally.
They're under the water
yes.
line.
And even then, you still see water dripping. And I've been through the Lincoln Tunnel. The Holland Tunnel is a little farther south from that, but I've only been through the Holland once. The Lincoln Tunnel I've been through several times. And when you hit traffic and you're sitting there, what do you got to do? Oh, I can look around. Oh, look, there's water dripping. Oh, there's water dripping over there. Oh, there's water dripping over there. Can we all please get going because there's water dripping everywhere? And so I just decided I'm going to take the GW Bridge because if the bridge collapses, I'm unrolling my window because I'm old school. I got I'm not pushing a button to unroll the window. I'm literally unrolling it as the car's going down so that when it crashes, I can get out. And I'm a crappy swimmer, but I got a chance of living that way.
Yeah.
Whereas if the tunnel floods, I'm dead instantly. Mm-hmm. So I get it. It was 1908 here, and they thought what they had was okay. For the casual observer, the 3-span pile bridge there today seems out of place in a dry area. Yes, it absolutely does. After seeing that bridge on Google Maps, it does seem weird. And normally these culverts properly channel water or are a way for livestock to move around, but the livestock isn't an issue here because the cattle can just walk around. They don't have to go down into this little culvert. And I've seen other areas where you have that and the train goes up. I've seen them over in, is it Box Buchanan? Is that where Bridgeport's at? There's one particular area where I've seen the train go by, mm-hmm. and there is literally cattle on both sides, and they just go under the railroad, and they've got the fencing so the cattle can't walk across the tracks. They got to go down under the culvert. But up there where this one is at, it was definitely for channeling water safely away. So I sort of get it. But yeah, it definitely was not sufficient enough for this storm. So the story gets even more interesting in this second article. Penry writes that the accident was remembered in 1935 when a Shadron physician told some folks that he had hastened the death of 2 of the tramps. So, of course, what? A physician just admitted he killed 2 people? What? So I'm going to quote from that again. At that time, Dr. Milton B. McDowell was a surgeon employed by the CNNW. See, back then, in 1935, they called it the C&NW. And today, it's just the CNW. So we took out an extra syllable because we're humans and we're lazy. He was
and
yeah.
NW.
Yeah.
It just sounds weird.
Yeah. He was among the passengers on number 6 that was following number 116. Dr. McDowell said that 2 of the tramps who were trapped in the wreckage were fearful of drowning as the icy water swirled and rose around them. The doctor waded out in chest-deep water to the 2 men. So, okay, he's going out there to help them. You know, there's 2 men trapped here. I'm going to help them. The doctor said the men begged him to give them something to cause their immediate deaths so that they would not experience death by drowning. Dr. McDowell asked the men whether they would rather try and wait 2 more hours for the wrecking crane to arrive, but each man wanted to hasten his own death. The doctor gave each man half of the contents of a hypodermic syringe filled with poison while holding their heads above the water. I don't know, man. I'm gonna be like, dude, wait until I go under and then stab me with your poison.
So I guess the situation doesn't make sense. So the doctor got to these 2 men.
Yep.
He couldn't get them out of something? So they were like in a boxcar with their heads out, like trapped? They were trapped somehow?
They were somehow trapped. Yeah, the article didn't say exactly how.
But not their arms. They were trapped, but they could have their arms out to get this poison, which you can't do in your wrist, so you have to do it in the crook of your arm, probably.
Yeah, and it doesn't even say where he gave them the poison.
I thought he said he gave it to him in his arms. What was a
just
syringe?
Just a hypodermic syringe.
I don't know where else you'd give it to them. Unless their heads were just above the water, you shoved it in their neck. Yeah,
if it was just their necks that were above water, you could stick in. Yeah, I don't know. And if this doctor did make this story up, you're a bad doctor. You're a bad doctor for making up stories like this. But
what even poison would you have on hand? That's another weird question. Why would a doctor be carrying poison?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I have.
Or was it really poison? Or was it just like a really heavy dose of morphine, and they really did just drown?
Yeah, they were just unconscious at the time and drowned. I don't know.
Because I suppose maybe a doctor back then would have potassium cyanide, maybe, but I just don't know why you would have that on hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. But it opens more questions than it answers.
Oh, yeah.
Again, Dr. McDowell would probably be dead if that number 6 had been on time that night. And
someone could have given him a shot.
Yeah. But anyway, Connor, put me down as a no for poison.
No, I guess no.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, because, I mean, poison isn't a pleasant way to go either. And again, unless it was something like potassium cyanide, which is very, very, very fast, if it was something injected into their veins, I can't imagine that would have been a very good way to go while water is coming up to your neck and you're almost going to literally drown.
Yeah.
I just don't see that being the better alternative. I can't see their going being pleasant.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it was...
I would say unless it wasn't poison, unless it really was just something like a high dose of morphine or something that would just make them stupid, knockout, unable to move, and they just drowned.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Unless Dr. McDowell there, unless he was a vet and carried that stuff that made my pets go.
In 1908,
like
though, I thought that was a bullet. Did vets really carry around special medicine to kill animals when they had guns?
No.
In 1908? I find that hard to believe that we were that humane.
No. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, what was he doing? Why would a doctor need a poison? Because for a vet, that does make sense. Put something down if you have to. But do you, as a doctor, really have the mentality that you might have to put someone down for their own good? Therefore, you just carry around poison.
Yeah. So, I don't know what was in the hypodermic syringe.
My guess it was morphine, because we call morphine now poison. We call any opium poison. Honestly, he could have injected him with laudanum. Laudanum is poison. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's opium mixed with other weird crap, but it's basically opium based. But I could imagine if you injected someone with laudanum, that would make them weak, that would make them tired, and that would make them die, not fast, but relatively. So
yeah, okay.
So maybe that was it. Maybe it was laudanum.
Okay.
Because a doctor would have laudanum.
Put me down for not killing me in any sense of the word.
This is how you know I'm the son of a cop, because I'm all like CIA.
You're just like, this doesn't make sense.
I wonder.
Oh, gosh. So if we go back to the beginning of the story, we know that the 116 used to follow the 6, which was a passenger train. And if it had been on schedule, way more people would have been dead. Way more. Unfortunately, in 1908, tramps were not considered as equal regular people. That's my air quotes there. And regular people.
And that feeling didn't dissipate until the maybe early 1980s.
Yeah, because I was still hearing the word growing up. I mean, it had changed from tramp to hobo.
But the tramp chairs that I was talking about, it still goes up into the 60s.
Okay. And what is it? I'm trying to remember the title of it's either Fleetwood Mac or Stevie Nicks, The Tramps, Gypsies, and Thieves. What did we just...
that was Cher.
Was that Cher? Yes, that was Cher. Yeah.
Tramps, Thieves, Gypsies. Yeah, I think that was
so that's
Cher
like
song.
70s that song came out. So you're looking at, even in the 70s, we're lumping a group of people with another group of people with a group of thieves, because that's how they were viewed.
Well, in the 70s, hippies were synonymous with tramps. That word was used.
Yep. And yeah, I don't even know today. Maybe folks just don't even really understand what.
Well, like I said, the 90s Disneyfied it.
Yeah.
I almost promise you that's what happened, because you think of tramp. If I call any child, I said, what do you think when you think the word tramp? They'd probably say Lady and the Tramp. They think of a dog. They probably don't associate with it.
I haven't actually seen the movie. Have you?
Lady and the Tramp?
Yeah.
I was raised off that movie.
Okay.
Come on.
So was the tramp like a homeless dog?
Yeah, he was a mutt.
Okay.
He was the great, for those who haven't watched it, Lady and the Tramp, the lady, and that's her name, I believe, was Lady, was a Cocker Spaniel in a nice house. Beautiful, got spoiled, but then a baby came along. She got less loved, so she kind of got booted aside as a normal dog. And then she kind of goes out wandering out on the streets for some Disney reason, and then meets the tramp, who I think is also called Tramp. I don't know. No, it's not his name. I forgot his name in the movie.
Okay.
Because in the song, there's a song that goes, he's a tramp, and it kind of explains why.
Okay.
But the funny thing is they explain it in a sexual way. Just like you said, like a tramp, because when they're singing he's a tramp, It's when Lady gets locked up in the pound, right? And she meets these other girl dogs, and that's what's like, what a dog. And it goes on to the song. It's like basically I've been with this dog, she's been with this dog, she's been with this dog. So Tramp was synonymous with a sexual perversion. So Disney, it wasn't him being homeless. He was a mutt and a homeless dog, but that wasn't what it was associated to.
So they're taking both uses of the word tramp and highlighting one over the other then.
They are. Yeah. Much more the sexual perversions of what people call
a tramp.
Tramps.
Okay.
Even though it was a guy dog, it's still considered that. He was basically a guy that would sleep with any girl, and and that happened. So How did you not watch Lady and the Tramp?
I don't.
For being the Disney movie that it is and being horribly racist, because of course they have the stupid Siamese song in there with the Siamese cats, and they have that song. I won't even start singing the words because it's horribly, horribly racist. Even the tune is horribly racist. Very, very disrespectful to the Asian culture, but otherwise the movie stands out as one of the better animated Disney movies. Okay.
I never liked Disney animated movies. I did not grow up on them.
Fair enough. You wouldn't have. I mean, I think I watched one of the second animated one, which is Cinderella.
Okay.
The first was Snow White, but that was way back in the day. But
yeah, I didn't watch any of them, and
then all the best ones came out when I was a kid, like in the 90s. Lion King, Toy Story.
Haven't seen it. I have seen Aladdin. It was okay.
Yeah.
I also have not watched Sesame Street. We didn't have a TV as a kid. Sesame Street was made for my generation, for Gen X.
It was.
And I see
it lasted through mine too. Though.
Yeah. I know about it. I've read about it. I know who the characters are, but I didn't watch it as a kid because we didn't have a TV. So all that stuff that was made for my generation, I missed out on a lot of it.
Well, and I don't. Unfortunately, you might not even be able to go. With PBS going down the tubes, you might not see Sesame Street or Arthur or any of those things much more longer.
I hope something can be done with that because I understand its value in society, and I'm really glad for PBS. On the rare occasion that we did get to watch something on the TV, because we did have an 11-inch black and white TV, but it was rarely on. But when I did get to watch PBS, it was usually a documentary. And I think that really helped shape. I mean, look at what we're doing right now. And a lot of things that I enjoy reading is nonfiction. So that did help shape me in a way. But a lot of those Gen X milestones I missed.
Yeah. And a lot of those Gen X milestones, I was surprised as a 88 baby. I got to experience in the early 90s when I was old enough to experience. A lot of the stuff, like you said, Sesame Street. I grew up off of Sesame Street, like religiously. That was what was put on. And then, of course, Lamb Chops play along. She was great.
Oh, God, Lamb Chops from my mom's generation.
Yeah, I was really sad when she passed away. And I guess now her daughter does it.
Oh, really?
Because I saw somewhere on Facebook, I thought her daughter was bringing some of it back.
Cool.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
That's cool. Yeah, so like when Eddie Murphy did it wasn't Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. I knew he was playing off of Mr. Rogers, but I had never seen Mr. Rogers. And Mr. Robinson's, go look up on YouTube, Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. That was hilarious. My mom was so upset because, at the end of every skit, Eddie Murphy the cops were knocking at the door because he had stolen something. He was like, I just liberated these television sets. And we're like, okay. So we knew it was all just a play on words, but and a play on Mr. Rogers, but I had never seen
Eddie
it.
Murphy is just the greatest.
I love
He
that
actually,
dude.
I watched one of his ones where he plays a serious role, because it's his daughter, a black daughter, where marrying a white man is one of
Okay.
those movies where they meet the family. Mm-hmm. It's just like Meet the Fockers, kind of like that, but it's just like interracial family meet. They try to, the white guy's trying to get to the dad of his now fiance, and it's Eddie Murphy, and he's not having it. He's not having any of it. Like, he's just like, what the hell are you? Because he does like very uncomfortable, typical white boy stereotyping blacks, and he's just like not having it at all. And it's so funny because he's so serious. I never watched a movie where Eddie Murphy's just like constantly looks pissed off. But he does in that movie.
Okay.
He just like constantly looks mad. I'm like, ugh. You're like usually so nice and so happy.
Oh gosh, yeah. So sad me, I missed out on all of those Gen X touchstones, but it doesn't matter.
Nowadays, you can go back and watch them. That's what's
Yeah, I
wonderful
could.
about the future.
And some things I do, some things I don't. Whatever. So back to 1908. These vagabonds were not considered as equal or regular people, and Penry noted high death toll caused by this accident was quickly forgotten and was probably never known by the general public. This is likely because tramps weren't considered people, and the accident was in
The middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I was going to try and find something nice, but yeah, it still is the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't even think most people remember the sugar factory explosion here, and that was just 96, 97.
Yeah, maybe. I guess maybe they don't remember it in a history way. Nobody younger than me would remember it, of course, because my sister barely remembered it. She's 2 years younger than me.
But I mean,
anyone younger than me, of course, wouldn't know about it.
Yeah.
But those who were my age and older who experienced it, I don't know. That was a pretty traumatic event.
Well, I mean,
in the
like
town.
nationwide, nobody really truly remembers it because
Unless you go off the Nebraska rumors, the Scottsbluff good old rumors. When that sugar factory exploded, there was a guy in New York that could hear it.
Okay.
As far as, and then it keeps going and going. First it was as far as Alliance.
Okay.
And then it kind of kept going to North Platte to Omaha, and before you knew it,
Well.
some guy in New York heard it when it went off, damn it.
Okay, because I was living in New York at that time. I did not hear it.
Yeah, you must not have been paying attention.
But of course, I'm also not a man, and it was a man that heard it.
It's a man that heard it.
It's just the men; they're the only ones that can hear it.
Let me mansplain something out about how sound works here, guys.
Oh gosh, I can tell you, I did feel the Oklahoma City bombing. I was living in Lincoln at that point in time. And
I guess I don't know the distance between that one.
I don't know the distance either, but in all honesty, it just sounded like a car backfiring in the distance to me, and I just went about my day. And then when I was watching the news that night, they were like, "Oh, did you hear this type of sound at about this time of day?" That was actually the ripple effect from the explosion. So it wasn't even at the same time, because it took several minutes, to ripple.
For the sound. And sound dissipates as it goes. So.
Yeah, and I just remember, that's a neat little fact to know about a frickin' tragedy. Thanks, dude. And what sticks in my head 30 years later? That stupid thing. And I can tell you, I've been to the memorial once from the Oklahoma City bombing, and I think chairs was the right way to go with the memorial, because
they really did an interesting thing with the Oklahoma City bombing, because it wasn't just that area. They redesigned that entire city center, surrounding the entire place. They redid everything.
Yep.
So it's pretty
and it's pretty impactful. That you're not just looking at a chair. You're looking at a chair that somebody could sit in. So this doesn't surprise me, 1908, that it was forgotten. And again, when you start thinking about why do we have state historical societies and county historical societies,
or road markers,
yeah,
that tell about these events.
This is why. and several of our things, like Amanda Lammy, that we did, it only tells 2 paragraphs of her story, and the third paragraph is, oh, this is what people were called that came across. There's not really anything there, and you had to go look for more. It gave you, at least it gave me enough that I wanted to go and learn more. And I read the county markers in my hometown when I go home. There's one where Lloyd's Supermarket used to be, and Mr. Lloyd was one of the first, I think he was the first supermarket in New York State. I would have to go and look.
New York would be awesome for their markers. I bet they have amazing. Well, we do too.
Yeah.
I mean, even Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where I lived there for almost a decade, and they had amazing markers everywhere, and they would tell you. And I liked theirs because theirs was inside the city. So these were the markers you would walk up to along their trails.
Oh, okay.
So it was like along their greenway. They would be like, well, this is the old oil lamp district, and during this time a great fire happened, and then later down the road it's like, well, this is where once a great mining facility once was, like the Palisades. It tells you all about the Palisades, and it's really, really fun.
They're very cool to stop, and even if they don't tell the whole story, we live in 2025. Take a picture of the mile marker with your phone, and when you have time, look up more information. I mean, that's where my interest in a lot of things start from. And this story, again, I was researching something else and stumbled upon it, and I'm like, this is a pretty important story because 15 people died. 13. I literally just read it and I cannot remember the number, but about 20 people died. And so you don't think that's a lot, but in 1908, it is. Yeah, it is. And it deserves to be remembered and to be told. So I went ahead and did it. And I think that's also partly why, like, the monument and agate keep getting pushed aside. One, because they're both going to be so many parters, but also because there are books and books and books and books about them.
What we're doing is really just a review of what many other qualified historians have done before us. Whereas
this is just a story that I read about that I don't think anybody knows, that is an interesting part of the history out here, especially since the railroad passenger trains don't run in Nebraska anymore.
Nope, they don't.
I mean, you can say Amtrak, but you stop in Omaha or Lincoln, and then you go to McCook, and you leave the state. It doesn't come up here.
You don't really go through Nebraska anymore.
We don't have Greyhound lines up here anymore. I know
we don't even have the Denver coach.
Yeah, if you want to get anywhere, you need a car. You need to do it yourself out here. And I don't ever see that changing. We just don't have the population to merit it unless we completely blow up the entire country and rebuild it. And even then, not a lot of people are going to want to live out here. So you're still not going to get it. It's just not going to happen. Anyway, that's it for this time. Hope you enjoyed this story. Come back next time and we'll tell you some more history that you don't really know about out here in western Nebraska. For now, I'm Irene.
And I'm Connor.
And this is Storytelling on the Plains.